Welcome to the Travel Podcast by ExcursionPass.
Yeah, we are so glad you are here with us today.
Our whole mission here is to basically get ahead of all those little doubts and objections you might have about booking travel experiences.
Right, exactly.
We kind of want to be that expert couple who has lived the exact itinerary and is just bursting to share every single detail with you.
Yeah, we want you to feel like you are already right there, living the experience while you listen. And, maybe we will throw in a few terrible jokes along the way.
Hey, my jokes are fantastic, thank you very much.
Highly debatable.
Well, today our deep dive is taking us straight into the vibrant, sun-drenched heart of Barcelona, Spain. We are looking specifically at the Park Güell guided tour with skip-the-line ticket.
Right, and this one is specifically operated by Golden Tour Guide, which you can book right through ExcursionPass.
Okay, let's unpack this, because I know exactly what you were thinking right now. You were sitting there thinking, guys, it is literally a public park.
Yeah, a park with gravel paths and some trees.
Right, I know how to walk along a gravel path by myself. Do I really need to open my wallet and pay 30 euros for a guide to hold a little flag and walk me through some gardens?
I mean, that is the number one hesitation travelers have. They look at this itinerary and wonder why on earth they should pay for a highly structured, scheduled tour in a space that basically feels like it was designed for, aimless wandering.
If you think this is just a casual, spontaneous stroll through some nice greenery, you are setting yourself up for a uniquely frustrating vacation day.
Oh, absolutely. It is not a casual stroll.
Let's ground ourselves in the basics of what this specific experience actually is before we get into the weeds. For about 30 euros, or roughly 32 US dollars, you are getting a 1-hour walking tour.
Yep.
The group size is capped at a strict maximum of 25 people, which is super important. You are provided with a dedicated audio headset, so the guide's voice is literally always in your ear.
Which is a game changer, honestly.
It really is. And, crucially, you get a skip-the-line entrance ticket.
And before we can even touch on the gorgeous architecture or the sweeping views or the history, we really have to talk about the physical reality of getting in.
Yeah, the logistics, because nothing ruins a vacation vibe faster than logistical stress and sweaty ticket lines.
Exactly. I mean, Barcelona in high season is a completely different beast than Barcelona in November. You have millions of global travelers converging on the exact same 5 landmarks at the exact same time.
It is a staggering amount of people. Waiting in the standard ticket line at Park Güell in July feels like waiting for a summer blockbuster movie premiere on boiling hot asphalt.
Wow, yeah, that paints a picture.
It is miserable. But, when I look at the reviews for this Skip the Line tour, there is a very loud, very angry 1-star review from a user named Adrian Amam that really caught my eye.
Oh, right. The scam review.
Yeah. She essentially called the entire experience a scam. She claimed there was terrible communication, extremely vague instructions, she didn't even know the guide's name, and ultimately, she missed the tour entirely and was refused a refund. Scam is a really heavy word to throw around.
A word like that totally demands scrutiny. But, when you place that single review next to the actual data, where 93% of the nearly 5,000 reviewers on TripAdvisor give this specific tour 4 or 5 bubbles, a very clear pattern emerges.
Right, it's a huge contrast.
The thousands of glowing reviews praise the impeccable, clockwork organization of this exact same tour. The absolute make-or-break factor for this experience is following the strict instructions to the letter.
Okay, but what does strict actually mean in this context? Because being aggressively rigid on a vacation sounds kind of counterintuitive.
Well, the terms are uncompromising. You must arrive 15 minutes early.
Not on time.
Not on time early. You have to navigate to a very specific meeting point, which is the Gaudi experience location at Carretera del Carmel, 23.
Okay, Carretera del Carmel, 23. Got it.
And the guide will be standing right there holding a Golden Tour Guide sign. Because Park Güell is massive, right?
Yeah.
It's this huge hill. And it has 4 different entrances.
Oh, wow, 4.
4 entrances. So if you just wander up to the main gate, assuming you can casually find your group, or if you arrive even 2 minutes late to that meeting point, you miss the entrance window entirely.
That is stressful.
It is? But the terms you agree to upon booking state very clearly that late arrivals do not get refunds. They literally can't wait for you.
Let me push back on this a bit because it feels like a very fine line between highly organized and punishing. Is paying for this skip-the-line feature just a clever marketing gimmick by the tour company to charge a premium? or is it an actual survival necessity?
What's fascinating here is that the skip-the-line feature isn't just a time-saving convenience, it is an energy preservation strategy.
Energy preservation.
Yes. Because Park Güell is built on Carmel Hill, it requires a significant amount of uphill walking before you even reach the monumental zone.
Oh, right. You're already doing a workout just getting there.
Exactly. So if you start your visit by standing in an hour-long queue in the Mediterranean heat, completely drained and frustrated by the crowds,
Yeah, you're done.
you aren't going to have the mental or physical capacity to absorb Antoni Gaudi's genius. You're literally just going to be scanning the park for a place to sit down.
That makes so much sense. You're essentially buying your own energy back. You're bypassing the friction at the gate so you can actually be present the moment you step inside.
And that shift in presence is palpable once you get past the gates. You leave the chaotic, modern streets of Barcelona behind, and the environment completely transforms into something that doesn't even feel like traditional architecture.
Let's take you there right now. Imagine stepping into this space. You are immediately enveloped by bright, twisting pathways.
Yeah, the colors are amazing.
The stone structures, they don't look like they were built. They look like they organically grew right out of the ground. The columns mimic the rough texture of tree trunks. The archways curve like the mouths of ancient caves.
It's so surreal.
And right in the center of the monumental area greeting you is the iconic mosaic salamander, famously known as El Drac. It is an absolute explosion of vibrant, fragmented color against all that earthy stone.
It is visually overwhelming. But, this is the pivot point where a guided tour becomes critical, because a massive, colorful lizard is a great backdrop for an Instagram photograph, sure.
Oh, definitely.
But understanding the architectural philosophy behind it completely alters how you perceive the physical space. A knowledgeable guide will break down the Modernism movement for you.
Wait, before we go further into the park, what actually is Modernism? Because if I don't know art history, is that just like a fancy regional word for Art Deco?
No, it's far more biological than Art Deco.
Here.
Modernism was a late 19th and early 20th century cultural renaissance in Catalonia.
Okay.
Rather than embracing the cold, rigid, straight lines of the Industrial Revolution, artists and architects like Gaudi looked straight to the natural world. They believed nature was the ultimate structural blueprint.
So they were basically copying trees and plants. Sort of. Gaudi integrated an almost religious reverence for creation into highly functional engineering. He observed that there are very few perfectly straight lines in nature, so he simply refused to use them in his buildings.
But couldn't I just, pull up a Wikipedia page on my phone while standing in front of the lizard to learn about curved lines? Why do I need a human being to explain broken tiles to me?
Well,
It's like looking at a magic trick.
yeah.
I can stand there and know it's an illusion, or I can have the magician stand right next to me and whisper exactly how the trick is performed, step by step. I want the magician. Tell me how the trick is done.
I love that analogy. Okay, let's look at the trick behind those broken tiles, which is a technique called trencadis.
Trencadis.
Yeah. Gaudi didn't just smash ceramics because it looked whimsical in the sunlight. He was solving a highly complex engineering problem. Because Gaudi's designs were inspired by nature, he built undulating serpentine surfaces, like the famous winding bench that overlooks the city.
Right, the bench isn't flat. It waves in and out like a snake. Exactly. Now, try taking a flat, rigid, perfect ceramic square tile and gluing it to a three-dimensional curving stone wave.
Oh, it won't sit flush, it will just snap.
It will snap. By intentionally breaking the tiles first, Gaudi created a flexible mosaic skin of color that could perfectly hug the complex organic geometries of his architecture.
That is genius.
It gets better. Beyond the engineering, it was a brilliant early form of recycling. He took discarded, imperfect materials from local ceramic factories and transformed what was essentially industrial trash into high art.
Wow. Once you know why the tiles are broken, you totally stop just seeing a pretty colorful lizard or a wavy bench. You start seeing the mind of an engineer solving a multi-dimensional puzzle.
Yeah.
It fundamentally changes what your eyes are taking in.
And understanding that puzzle brings us directly to the human element. The physical stone, the trencadis, the sweeping views, that is only half the magic.
Right.
Translating that incredibly dense, complex architectural language into a compelling story is the other half.
Here's where it gets really interesting. When you dive into the thousands of reviews, travelers aren't just raving about the park itself. They are singling out the guides by name, basically treating them like the unsung heroes of the entire operation.
Absolutely.
So it's time to walk further into the park, maybe step into the Hypostyle room, the unbelievable hall of 100 columns, and talk about the people actually leading the way.
The guides are really the bridge between you and Gaudi's mind. Take Olga E., for example.
Olga is a star.
Multiple travelers have highlighted her infectious energy. She doesn't treat the tour like a script to be memorized and just recited. She brings a dynamic enthusiasm that transforms a simple walk into an immersive seminar.
And then you have Gemma Rivera. A reviewer specifically noted that Gemma has an actual architectural background.
Which is huge.
Imagine having an actual architect walk you through the most famous, complex architectural park in the world. She wasn't just pointing at pretty ceilings, she was answering really complex questions about load-bearing curves and structural integrity, all while effortlessly managing a group of 25 people.
Yeah, that takes serious skill. You also have guys like Eduardo, who completely upend the traditional tour format.
What'd you do?
One traveler mentioned that Eduardo turned the experience into an interactive game. He gave his group a puzzle to solve as they walked.
That is so cool.
Right. And he also guided them to secret, elevated views of the park that literally 99% of tourists walk right past because they are too focused on the main pathways.
I love that so much. He didn't just show them the park, he made them participate in it. But my absolute favorite guide mentioned in our sources, and we really have to give a massive shout out here, is Ina.
Oh, Ina sounds amazing.
A reviewer named Lori B. noted that Ina is actually a teacher when she is delivering tours, and her pedagogical background completely shined through. She arrived at the meeting point with laminated photos of historical facts and portraits of Antoni Gaudi.
Wow, she brought visual aids.
Yes, to give her group visual context before they even walked through the gates. She even brought stickers to keep the children in the group engaged.
That level of extreme preparation really highlights the core value of this specific tour. When you combine a deeply passionate, highly educated guide with the provided audio headset technology, the entire dynamic of a group tour shifts dramatically.
Okay, so how does the headset actually change things? Because I've been on guided tours without them, and it usually involves like a lot of shuffling around and craning your neck.
Well, think about it. Without a headset, a guide is forced to herd 25 people into a tight, anxious little circle and physically shout over the ambient noise of 5,000 other tourists.
Yeah, and you can never hear anything if you're in the back.
Exactly. The group inevitably clusters together, jostling for position just to hear the basic facts. With the headset, the guide speaks in a normal, conversational tone directly into your ear.
It's like having a high-end documentary narrating directly into your brain while you physically walk through the set.
Yes.
You have your own intimate bubble of calm right in the middle of a massive, chaotic tourist attraction. You can linger behind to study the way a column leans or, step to the edge of the terrace to take a photo of the Mediterranean Sea, and you never miss a single word of the story.
The contrast is honestly striking. A reviewer who goes by the username Liquid Days actually visited Park Güell on a self-guided trip way back in 2004.
Okay.
They came back years later, picked this specific guided tour, and noted that they saw and understood exponentially more than they had during their solo visit.
That says a lot.
The guide pointed out deliberate design choices that are just invisible to the untrained eye, like how the garden paths intentionally frame specific vantage points, or the hidden symbolism in the ironwork. It is the literal difference between simply looking at a space and actually reading it.
So we've navigated the logistics, we've walked through the gates, we've decoded the brilliant engineering of the mosaics with Ina and Eduardo, and we've taken in those sweeping panoramic views from Carmel Hill.
It's been a full hour.
Right. The official 60 minutes of the tour is wrapping up. What happens next? Does the guide just march the group to the exit and forcefully confiscate the headsets?
That brings us to a crucial logistical detail, and it clears up a very common point of confusion. A reviewer named PC81 asked whether this tour includes entrance to the Gaudi House Museum.
Which is a separate building located inside the park grounds, right?
Correct.
That's a really great question because if you're already inside the park, you just assume you can go into the building.
You cannot. The tour covers the park's expansive grounds, so the monumental zone, the viaducts, the bridges, and the architectural history of the landscape itself.
Okay.
Entrance to the Gaudi House Museum requires a completely separate ticket booked for a totally different day or time.
Setting the right expectations is so vital so nobody feels let down at minute 61.
Absolutely. But while the museum isn't included, there is a massive, highly valuable perk that happens when the tour ends.
Ooh, tell me.
Once the official route concludes back near the starting point and you hand in your headset, you are not required to leave.
Wait, really?
Really, you are completely free to wander the grounds on your own for as long as you desire.
Oh, that is brilliant. You get the concentrated, highly efficient burst of expert knowledge to contextualize everything, and then you get the absolute freedom to just vibe in the space on your own terms.
Several reviewers strongly recommend booking a tour slot later in the afternoon for this exact reason. If you stay after the guide departs, you can catch the transition into the golden hour.
Oh, the lighting must be incredible.
It is. The massive daytime crowds begin to thin out, the intense midday heat finally breaks, and you can capture that perfect, uncrowded photograph of the mosaic dragon glowing in the evening light.
So what does this all mean? When we zoom out and look at all the sources, all the reviews, and just the stark reality of Barcelona's summer crowds, paying €30 to have a local expert bypass the chaos, hand you a headset, and decode a literal masterpiece for you isn't just a basic walking tour.
No, it's not.
It is the ultimate travel hack. You are buying back your time, protecting your physical energy, and receiving a masterclass in architectural engineering from people who genuinely love their city.
You are paying for clarity in a space that is defined by its beautiful complexity.
Beautifully said. But before we officially wrap up our time in Barcelona today, we want to leave you with one final, deeply fascinating thought to mull over.
This is my favorite part.
It's a historical detail that completely changes the context of every single thing we just talked about. We've spent this whole time discussing Park Güell as a world-famous park, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, a place millions of people flock to see.
Yet, for all its current glory, Park Güell was never intended to be a public park.
No way.
Antoni Gaudi and Josep Güell originally conceived and designed the massive space as a private, highly exclusive residential garden city.
Are you serious?
Very serious. It was supposed to be a luxury housing estate specifically built for the wealthiest families of Barcelona.
Like a gated community.
A very, very strange gated community. They mapped out 60 triangular plots for luxury villas, complete with shared amenities, the monumental marketplace, and sweeping viaducts for horse-drawn carriages.
Wow.
They wanted to create an upscale, British-style garden city away from the smog of industrial Barcelona.
But earlier you mentioned it was a commercial failure. Just how bad was it?
It was a catastrophic commercial failure. Out of the 60 planned plots, only 2 houses were ever built.
Wait, only 2 out of 60?
Only 2. And get this, neither of them were designed by Gaudi.
You are kidding.
I'm not. The wealthy elite of Barcelona completely rejected the project. It was too far from the city center, the terrain was way too difficult, and Gaudi's organic, undulating architecture was considered too bizarre and avant-garde for the high society of the time.
So nobody bought in?
Nobody wanted to buy in. Count Güell eventually died, the project was totally abandoned, and years later, the Güell family simply sold the land to the city of Barcelona, which opened it as a public park.
It is genuinely wild to think about that. So here's the question we want to leave you with. If Antoni Gaudi were alive today, and he stood on Carmel Hill, looking down at millions of global travelers from every corner of the earth, all wearing headsets, eagerly lining up in the boiling summer heat and paying money just to walk through his completely failed housing development.
Yeah, what would he think?
Does true, earth-shattering visionary genius sometimes require commercial failure in its own time in order to be immortalized by the public in the future?
It is the ultimate paradox of Park Güell. The total rejection of the private luxury estate by the wealthy few is the exact mechanism that allowed it to become a beloved public treasure for the rest of the world.
Wow.
If it had actually succeeded as a gated community, none of us would be allowed inside today.
That is something to think about the next time you're sitting on a curving mosaic bench, looking out over a city that finally understands the genius it once rejected. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Park Güell on the travel podcast by ExcursionPass. Until next time, keep exploring, and we'll see you out there.